Hello guys, today's video is about leverage, and the question is leverage, should we love it or hate it? And I think for the beginners you have to start to understanding what leverage actually is and what kind of benefits it provides to you, but also what kind of risks. Whether you love it or hate it, that's the part that you decide later when you know how to use it. So let's start from the beginning. Let's say that I have 100 euros or $100. That's my money. And let's say that I want to buy part of a company. So when I explain it to my kids, I tell them that they buy a brick of a company, and then the more bricks you have, the more of the ownership of the company that you're having. Essentially, that's what the stock is. Now, if I want to use leverage, I have my $100 and then I ask the bank to give me a loan because, for example, I'm really sure that G as Google, my G company, is going to, for example, do very good in the future or in a very near future. And so I want to increase my position, but I don't want to use my own money. So for a very short period of time, I can borrow this from the bank, or then I can borrow it for a longer time, but then the bank is going to be charging me every day for keeping of this loan. But for the 1 day or for shorter periods, the cost is relatively inexpensive. It's like 0.0002% or something like that. Anyway, what happens then if, for example, I take 2-to-1 kind of loan or 2x kind of loan? A bank gives me twice as much money as I had on top of what I actually had. So in the end, I'm going to have $300 to start my investing or to build my position in. So what happens in here with my initial $100, I can now buy 3 bricks in my adorable company. Let's call it a G company. Now, what happens when the G company grows by 5%? Well, what happens is that I walk out with $105. And essentially, my gain is $5 in here. Now, what happens in this case? For every brick, I would get the $105. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I would have $350. What happens at the end of the day, you want to give back this money to the bank so that you don't have to pay too much of a fee for it. So you're paying back your $200 that the bank has borrowed you, and you're being left with $115. So ultimately, you walk out with the profit. In here, it was $5, and in here, it was $15. So as you can see, you have increased your gain about 3 times, or something like that. So this is the 3x, 2-to-1. So you have increased your gain 3 times. That's the part for which we actually love the leverage, and that's the part for which it is being used to increase your position when you're really sure, or everything in your gut screams that this is the correct decision to do and position to make. This is how you can build that position. But there is also risk involved, and let's talk about that. In our second example, we have a situation in which, for example, the stock is going down by 5%. Now, that's a very small thing that can happen during the day. Well, actually, quite recently, we have seen drops by about 10% in the event of some larger things. But I will talk about it in a second as well. Anyway, let's assume that we have the 5% drop. What happens at the end of the day? I'm walking out with 95. So ultimately, I have lost $5. Now, in this case, for every 100 or for every brick, now every brick is kind of worth $95. So together, I'm having $285. Of course, at the end of the day, bank still wants their $200. So I walk out with $85 in hand. And that means that I am down $15. So in a way, I tripled my loss, but just like I could have tripled my gain, I tripled my loss. Now, what is the risk, or like a very large risk, that we should consider? The third thing that I wanted to talk about is connected with the very, very large risk that is associated with the leverages and that you should be aware of. So for example, I think it was Ray Dalio who was saying that on average, the price of the stock can vary between plus minus 45% to the average or its intrinsic value. So what the stock is worth, the price could be plus 45% to that or minus 45% to that. So there are situations in which, let's say after earnings seasons, or somebody drops a hell of a lot stocks on the market and the price is dropping. And let's say that the price has dropped from our company by 33%. This is not unseen kind of situation. In such situation, without leverage, what happens is you still walk away with $6-7 per every share that you sold, and you lock in this 33% of a loss, right? But you still have some money at the end of the day. And what happens in here? For every brick that I own currently, I'm locking this $33 of a loss. So at the end of the day, my total position would be worth 201 euros, for example. And the bank is ruthless as always, and it wants its 200 euros back because it's a loan. So at the end of the day, you may end up with either a position that is worth 1 euro, 0 euros, or $0. You lose everything. And if you did not have a stop loss correctly set, it may happen so that it goes on minus, and you have to additionally pay bank for whatever the money that you have borrowed for them and is currently not in the worth of the stock. So that is the big risk. You can lose 100%. Typically, the platforms which are actually offering the leverage, they are going to close your position the moment that there is $0 worth of your position, and you can either load more money to keep it going on minus. I do not recommend that. Or you close it and you walk away with nothing. So you had 100, you walk away with nothing, but that means that you have lost everything. And that is the big risk that you have to keep in mind. So being aware of that, you shouldn't play with the leverage in the very beginning when you don't know what is happening on the market. I suggest spending just a little bit of time, at least. I think 1 year is quite a good time to get the ins and outs of how the market is working, when are the options ending, how does that affect the prices, how does the earnings season affect everything, and in which situations it would be good or in which situations it would be bad to use the leverage. So if you would like to start in the beginning on the stock market, I suggest using this model in which you do not take any loan and you risk only this kind of money that you have. And there's a higher chance that you actually still walk away with some kind of money, that even if you need to liquidate this position, that you're not completely going to lose something, especially if you're going to be playing with something like index funds, or they are highly unlikely to drop to zero. So this is the level of risks which could be very nice for the beginners. If we are talking about leverage for the beginners, I suggest you do that or practice that for a long time on demo account, or with very, very small amounts, like I said, 20 euros, 30 euros on the account, so that you get the feel of how does that feel when the position all of a sudden drops by 33% because, for example, Mr. Allen has had a nice tweet or something like that, and you see everything dropping and you forgot to set the stop loss and your money vanished completely. So I suggest doing that on demo and getting the hang of it before you actually get comfortable with playing the market, with understanding the flow of the money. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and drop a like and subscribe to my channel if you are interested in following and helping my account to grow. So have a nice day.